About to get a new traffic light. Details on the work.
One Lamar's farmer is already starting to see the effects of the drought. I'll give you details.
And cooling off in the heat with ice cream days in Lamar's. KCAU 9 News at 10 starts now.
We are Siouxland proud. This is KCAU 9 News at 10.
And we're glad that you're with us this evening. I'm Tim Seaman.
And I'm Sophie Erber. As the heat intensifies, so do the problems of farmers with their crops.
And soon, homeowners could also be impacted. KCAU 9 reporter Mallory Smith explains why in tonight's top story at 10.
The extreme heat is gripping the tri-state area and causing major problems for farmers as well as the rest of Siouxland. Heat so hot, it's setting record numbers, and some Siouxland farmers are starting to feel it.
One of those years where nothing's normal, so we went from stuff was working okay, quite a few farmers got stuff in early, and then we got a 10-day period where we did get some rain, but it was just these little tiny amounts, never really amounted to anything. So then we're just really starting to struggle with it now.
Aaron Nygren is a Nebraska Extension Cropping Systems Extension and Irrigation Educator. He provides local agronomic support for multiple counties.
If you go farther west in the state, there's areas where they haven't gotten anything in the last 2 weeks, and now they're definitely seeing some effects, and irrigation is starting up, which is a little bit earlier than normal.
Typically, on average, this time of year, we average about an inch of rain a week, and we aren't seeing anything close to that at this point.
Adding that temperatures are already reaching 8 to 10 degrees above average, and some northern and South Dakota regions already have broken records that date back to 1933. She says the mix of intense heat and dryness could very possibly affect your everyday life as well.
Some concerns about, low water for boaters and kayaks and that kind of thing as well.
Comes to mind is 2012, when things just kind of shut off. So that's what we worry about on some of it.
Lauren Edwards says if things start heading that way, it's very possible city officials will start implementing water restrictions like shorter showers and limiting lawn irrigation. Lucky for both farmers and community members, it hasn't reached that point just yet.
They're still pretty optimistic with where prices are. That helps a little bit right now. And like I say, most of them have been around and know that, there's still a lot of the growing season left. If the pattern would change and we get some timely rains, we still got a lot of potential.
Nygren says we should have a better idea of how growing season will end up once we start getting further into July, usually around the second week. Mallory Smith, KCAU 9 News.
All right, thanks, Mallory. And one day after fire destroyed the world-famous Dobson Pipe Organ Company in Lake City, Iowa, the owners are looking to the future now while sifting through the charred remains.
It's just too early to have any definite plans right now, but we do anticipate rebuilding.
Again, one day after that massive blaze ignited, fire crews continued dousing hot spots today into the afternoon while workers began demolishing what's left of the once half-block sized facility. Investigators believe the fire started inside that facility's sawdust collection system. The founder of the company says he's grateful for the community's support during this difficult time.
The town has just been so wonderful. We've had people offer us office space to set up in. There's some other people who own buildings that they say they'll move out of so that we can have at least a temporary shop to set up.
One employee did suffer some burns while trying to put out that fire, but that worker is expected to make a full recovery.
Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds signs a sweeping tax reform bill today, while promising that there will be more tax cuts in the future. The signing taking place at a youth recovery house in Ames, largely because that bill is set to realign the state's system for funding mental health services. Mental health care is currently funded by property taxes, so this will phase out that tax levy that counties now have and create a state fund for Iowa's 14 regions. Republicans are saying that this will not only provide relief for taxpayers, but provide a sustainable framework for funding mental health.
Our reforms have provided a full array of mental health services to Iowans when and where they need it most. Healthcare professionals and patients who rely on Iowa's mental health system deserve the sustainability and predictability this funding source will provide.
The new law also phases out inheritance tax by 2025 in Iowa, and it eliminates the property tax backfill that pays local governments back for property tax cuts that were enacted in 2013. Cities and counties get between 4 and 7 years to prepare. And in addition, the law removes the tax revenue threshold, for the next income tax cut that allows reductions to begin in 2023.
Another sign that life is slowly moving past the pandemic now. All Test Iowa sites are set to permanently close. The state's large-scale COVID-19 testing program will end operations on July 16th. Testing demand in Iowa is now at its lowest point in more than a year. Local pharmacies and healthcare providers will continue to offer tests. The Iowa Department of Public Health says it's working on plans to provide at-home COVID-19 test kits. That's for free to Iowa residents. An announcement on when that might happen is expected in the coming weeks.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem isn't giving up on her desire to have fireworks over Mount Rushmore during the 4th of July holiday. Noem, who recently called President Biden hypocritical after he launched a fireworks celebration at the nation's capital, has now sent a letter to Biden pushing for the display. Earlier this year, the National Park Service rejected South Dakota's request for fireworks at that monument. In a tweet, the governor saying that they will be resubmitting their request to the Park Service.
Here in Siouxland, a busy intersection in Sioux City will be getting a traffic light, and drivers are asked to be careful in the process. The City of Sioux City Engineering Division says the Sunnybrook Drive Sargent Road traffic signal project is set to begin now on June 21st. The intersection will remain open as contractors install those signals. The project is set to be complete this August.
And it's not summer without highway construction. And for those traveling the Highway 75 bypass in Sioux City, that means one-lane traffic. The Iowa DOT started work on resurfacing a stretch of the bypass on the east side of the city several weeks ago. And now, due to high volume of traffic, crews are working on that project between 6 at night and 6 in the morning. Dakin Schultz with the Iowa DOT says that drivers should be aware of workers as well as a possible detour due to that construction.
The one thing the public will see, those that are up at that time of the morning or night, depending on when they get to it, but they will, as they go past ramps, they will have to close ramps temporarily while they're doing the work in front of them.
Don't expect smooth sailing on that new asphalt anytime soon. The resurfacing project won't wrap up until this fall.
If you're up for a drive to satisfy your sweet tooth, though, now is the perfect time to visit one specific Siouxland community.
You can probably guess which one, too. The Lamar's Ice Cream Days are now underway. The summer tradition kicked off tonight with a car show where patrons were able to check under the hood of some vintage vehicles.
That's right. Up close, across the street, Bob's Drive-In offered free ice cream, and a concert was held at Foster Park to end off the night. It was hard for one attendee to pick her favorite event of the evening.
I'm really excited to eat all the ice cream, and I had cookie dough, and I got to see all the good cars and the nice cars, the old cars. You could see the engines, and it was really neat to see the older vehicles.
I love vintage cars, too. Ice Cream Days continues through June 19th. You can find a full list of the upcoming events right now on our website. That's SiouxlandProud.com. Not bad for an early Father's Day trip, especially if Dad likes old cars.
They may have to think about an ice cream eating contest, though, the way the cream is melting in these conditions.
So fast.
Milkshake days.
That's right.
Pretty quick. Yeah, we had some really hot weather out there today. Tim and Sophie, high temperatures were in the 90s, even triple digits for parts of the area. And now that's been used to fuel some pretty strong thunderstorms that have been in the region tonight. You can see the focus of that activity now just south of Highway 20. And we do have a severe thunderstorm warning at this moment. That includes parts of Carroll on Monday night. So definitely some relief in sight, but it will warm up gradually going into next weekend. Highs back in the 80s.
And hopefully the damage is limited there, as you said, some medium-sized hail.
Yeah, some fairly large hail, that in combination with the wind, so certainly can cause some damage, some reports of some tree damage around Ida Grove. So we're going to keep focused on things as they develop here.
All right, stay safe. Thanks a lot. Well, there soon may be a new federal holiday as the proposal receives overwhelming support in the Senate now.
How African-American history is being honored by lawmakers on Capitol Hill. That's coming up. But first, despite both leaders describing their meeting as positive, President Joe Biden still had some strong words for his Russian counterpart today. More on those talks next.
You're watching KCAU 9 News with Tim Seaman, Sophie Erber, Chief Meteorologist Scott Larson, and Sports Director Jake Jones. This is KCAU 9 News at 10. KCAU's
President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin today holding their much-anticipated summit.
And President Biden says there were some disagreements, but overall the tone was, quote, positive.
ABC's Karen Travers takes a look at today's events.
Good evening. President Biden says he pushed Vladimir Putin on election interference, human rights, and cybersecurity. But the president said the meetings were positive and declared he did what he came here to do.
First, a handshake. And a chaotic photo op inside an 18th century villa in Geneva. Then President Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin got down to business, meeting behind closed doors for 3 hours. Putin held the first press conference, calling the talks constructive and saying there was no hostility. Asked who won the high-stakes summit, the Russian leader did not bite, saying it wasn't a competition.
Is on the whole, we spoke the same language.
President Biden getting the last word.
It was important to meet in person, so there can be no mistake about or misrepresentations about what I wanted to communicate. I did what I came to do.
The president saying the tone of the meetings was positive.
Where we disagreed, I disagreed, stated where it was. Where he disagreed, he stated, but it was not done in a hyperbolic atmosphere.
Cybersecurity was a big topic in the wake of recent ransomware attacks that the administration says originated in Russia. Putin today taking no responsibility, but President Biden saying he drew a firm line.
I talked about the proposition that certain critical infrastructure should be off limits to attack, period, by cyber or any other means. I gave them a list.
Asked later what he would do if Putin ignored that, the president issuing a threat.
I pointed out to him we have significant cyber capability, and he knows it.
President Biden said before boarding Air Force One that he felt good about his first overseas trip, but he said time will tell whether his summit with Vladimir Putin was successful. Karen Travers, ABC News, Geneva.
The path forward on an infrastructure plan could come by debating not one, but 2 bills. That's according to a bipartisan group of lawmakers who say the first bill should focus on traditional infrastructure like roads and bridges. It would cost around $1.2 trillion for 7 years. But the process for a much broader bill addressing climate change and human infrastructure is already underway. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer meeting with Democrats in the Senate Budget Committee to discuss passing that plan without Republican support.
The first track is bipartisan. The second track pulls in elements of President Biden's American Jobs and Families Plan.
Democrats seem intent upon trying to jam Republicans again with reconciliation. I hope they don't, but it looks like they're intent.
That process would require the support of all 50 Senate Democrats. West Virginia moderate Joe Manchin has already signaled he might not support it. Senator Schumer plans to bring the more extensive spending bill and the scaled-down infrastructure deal to the floor in July.
A new federal holiday is now on the horizon after the Senate unanimously passed a bill to make Juneteenth the day the last enslaved African Americans in Texas learned of their freedom a national holiday. Republican Senator John Cornyn of Texas, where Juneteenth has been a state holiday for 40 years, spearheaded the effort in the Senate. Currently, 47 states officially do recognize the date. And last year, following the death of George Floyd, a growing list of companies began adopting the date as a paid holiday. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson previously blocked the bill, but without his formal objection, the bill has moved on now to the House.
Scott talked earlier about rain in the area tonight. Hopefully it didn't get in the way of any ball games.
Not for the ones I was at least, although I did see a couple that were postponed, and they'll finish them up next time they see each other.
Safer.
So we'll have that. Otherwise, perfect night to be at the ballpark, and one local team honoring one of its own during their evening matchup. I've Got those details and more still to come after the break. Upset 13-0. Across the way, the Lady Dutch hosting the Wildcats in softball. Top 2, Xavier Metzger getting a ton of bat on this one. Goes to straightaway center by Addison Weirda. Highway robbery. That could have easily been a triple. Bottom 2, Kennedy Kramer rings up the inning-ending K. That'll keep it scoreless after 2. Top of the 4th now, Taylor Rentschler on 3rd for the Cats, and Kramer helping her cause by bringing her home. The single to left puts West Lyon in front. Next batter, Evie Noblock lays down the bunt. The throw to first goes wide. Kramer comes home, and just like that, it's a 2-0 West Lyon lead. But Carlin Smith slamming the door after that. Lady Dutch tie it up late and then walk it off in the bottom of the 7th. 3-2, the final. And here's why that Lady Dutch win is so cool. Both MOC Floyd Valley and West Lyon were both wearing orange ribbons and shoelaces to show their support for Lady Dutch Jr. Claire Yaw, who was diagnosed with leukemia and underwent her first treatment this week. Yaw has played in 14 games this season for MOC Floyd Valley, starting all 14 at 3rd base, while hitting .357 with 10 RBI, 6 runs scored. So while she couldn't be there on the field, the team did keep her there in spirit. The X's also having themselves a good night. Sioux City wins its 3rd straight game over Kane County to take the series 2-1. X's led by Patrick Ledette on the bump. Tossed a complete game shutout, or not shutout, excuse me, complete game. Pick up his 3rd win of the season, allowing just the 1 run on 9 hits, striking out 7. Mitch Gelfie and Chris Clare both picking up the RBI to lead Sioux City to victory. Game 4 will wrap up the series tomorrow at 6:30.
Both games.
I just want to go back to Claire Yaw for a second. Very cool to see. While she can't play, she's going through something very difficult that many high schoolers can't imagine. Really cool to see her team be able to pull that out. And, you know, much to my chagrin, I didn't get the highlight, but happy to see they were able to really honor her the right way.
And see the opponent jump in on that, too.
Yes.
It's pretty special there. Thanks, Jake. Stay with us. Scott's got an update on that cluster of heavy rain in northern Siouxland. In the meantime, it looks like in Orange City tonight, it's staying dry.